Welcome back, college baseball central fans and Beaver baseball fans. We're back, Scott. It was home weekend, first opening weekend there at Goss. How are we feeling, Scott?
Oh man, we actually had some nice weather. That's always pleasant. I think last year the first 10 or 15 games we had at home, it either snowed or rained every day. So this was a real change. It was really nice.
It was great. It was gorgeous. Good weather. Got a little cold on Friday night for us. We were there all three games up in the top of Section 3, the best section in Goss Stadium, no doubt. Lots of fans coming up to say hi to both of us. It was a lot. It was a great time. Just a blast going out there. And I personally gave out hundreds of seeds, bags of seeds from Chinook Seedery. I know you gave out a bunch of seeds from Chinook Seedery. And the fans were just literally coming up and be like, oh man, you still got some of those seeds. Those were so good. I love doing those kind of things, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that here in a second about how we're going to have one of those days for folks out there on the 5th of April. But use code CBC, get 10% off your whole Chinook order. It's tremendous, guys. Go on there. You can go place the order right there on ChinookSeedery.com. They have all the seeds you could ever think of. Scott, I know you've had a bunch of them now.
I got one
What's your
right
favorite
here, one of
ones?
my Hatch's
Hatch
chili. I
chili.
think that one so far has been my favorite one. Haven't went through all the, different flavors yet. I'm working my way through them all, but that Hatch's chili one I ate, like I told you, I opened that pack up and the next thing I know, I ate the entire pack and I'm like, well, I guess I like that one a lot. So that's pretty cool.
that that hatch chili is so good, and I told Scott, uh, I when I go fishing, I take that the Parmesan and pepper one, and I know it catches fish. I don't know. Smokehouse is my one for at the baseball games there. I like an original. There's so many good flavors though, and of course the hatch chili is so good. Jalapeno ranch is another one that's terrific. And then the new one that's been out, the cinnamon toast. People are going bonkers for that one. I know people were coming up and asking if we had any more bags of those. We ran out of those first. Those and dill pickle were like 1, 2. It was crazy.
Yeah, everybody that I offered seeds to was like, I'll take the dill pickle because that was such a popular flavor. But I just opened the cinnamon toast right before we went live here and chewed on those and was kind of like, wow, that's actually really good. It's definitely kind of neat treat.
Love it. I love it. I'm not huge on the sugar. I know you're not huge on the sugar, but man, it just gives you that little flavor in there, and I think it's tremendous. Again, folks, April 5th. So that UCI series, that Saturday, we're gonna go out there. The plan right now is to try to be out there an hour before game time. We're gonna be giving away some seeds. I think we're gonna go live. We might even do a little live broadcast out there, half hour before the game, maybe an hour before the game. We want to see you fans out there, so we're gonna be out there. It's beyond the left center wall. Out there, where is it? Like where the right where that road is there, Scott?
Yeah, it's kind of the area between the parking lot and the road, kind of in there somewhere. We'll figure out an exact spot. Let me ask around. I
Yeah.
know they often do a player's parent get together out there. So we'll either be somewhere left or right of that. We'll figure it out.
Yep, we just want to be out there with all the fans and going out there and seeing you guys pregame on that Saturday. Come on out. We're going to be giving away a ton of seeds. We're going to be giving away all sorts of stuff. We're going to be doing a live show. Going to be a blast, as always, because the Goss faithful are so tremendous, as we saw this weekend. Let's get into it, Scott. 7-3 heading into the weekend. There were some folks that were little down on the Beavers, and then they come back out and they just play great here in this game one. They win game one against San Diego, 11-3. Huge night for Caraway. He goes 4 for 5 with three doubles and a huge home run. That home run, we were both sitting there. We both looked and we knew it was gone as soon as he hit us. We wanted to see what he was doing. He was pumped for his first of the
Oh,
season.
yeah, I know he was totally pumped. He was pretty stoked and, definitely watched it for a little while and, had his moment, which was cool. I mean, it was one of those that the second he swung, that was out of any park anywhere. Like that was just crushed. I guess it hit a window. One of my
Broke somebody's
son's friends showed me a
windshield.
picture of the window that it broke. Somebody's window must have been parked on the far side of the parking lot. And man,
Yeah,
that
that ball
was
was
just,
crushed 446 feet.
yeah.
In 39-degree temperatures, folks. It was not warm, and the wind was stale. It was cold, and he got every single bit of that base. When he could just feel that weight being lifted off his shoulders, I think Scott when he hit that. I think that was a
Oh,
big part of it. Is
it
that he
was
hit all these
double, double,
doubles, right?
double. Yeah, he just
Yeah,
he was definitely dialed in, and then all of a sudden he connected on the long ball. And the two things that really stood out to me is one is I think San Diego is a lot better team than their record shows. I mean, they've
yeah,
probably had the hardest RPI schedule so far of who they've played, and I think they're a good team. They seem to be stay pretty classy throughout the whole weekend. They seem to. I think they're going to be a solid team. I bet you by the end of the year when NCAA was to roll around, we go, man, they started off, whatever their record is now, and here they are, they're right in the discussion for, getting in. So that's my
Yeah.
feel on them. I think they're a lot better. And what I will say is, traditionally, sometimes those 5 p.m. starts, I think we were 5:35 on Friday. The stadium's slow to fill in because people have to drive from Portland or Eugene or wherever, coming up. And, we always get those people from behind enemy lines and, just traveling all over the state. And I know you're coming over from, the, Ben Redmond area. And I know we have a few other people there that are doing the same. And man, the stadium was full at first
Oh,
pitch. Like, I've
crazy.
been to a lot of games there, and yeah, there's a few times where we're at, regionals, those kind of things. We get bigger crowds, but we always have, the left field stands that are full. You kind of see it in the background of our thing there, just beside Mark. You can see the left field bleachers out there. We didn't have those this weekend. We still had 4,000 people at Goss. Like,
Yeah. It was
the standing
nuts.
room only area was packed. Like, it was really impressive the way Beaver fans showed up to support this team
Yeah.
and how everybody got there. It was fun.
I was shocked on Friday. Honestly, we looked around. I know we were both looking around saying, "Go, there's 3,500 people here at 5 o'clock on Friday," and this was even before the first pitch. It was filled in. I mean, it was still filling up a little bit as we got after that first pitch, but usually on that Friday, it's like second, third, fourth inning. People are still filing in. People had found their seats. They were there ready to go. It was really great to see. The student section was completely filled all weekend long. It was awesome. Just tremendous to see. And Nelson Keljo goes out there, gets 5 innings, gets his first win of the season. I mean, he's pitched so well to not have a win yet, but he just hasn't hit that 5 innings. He looked good in those 5 innings. Segura comes out. He wasn't as sharp as he had been. Still ate up a couple innings there for the Beavs, and then Joey comes out and finishes that one out for Munt. The pitching is really the story of the weekend, but this one had to feel good for Nelson Keljo to go out there and get his first win.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you heard a lot of, you heard Coach Mitch Canham talk about it during the week, that kind of that philosophy of going after the hitters, it's kind of stop nibbling, stop doing whatever. And, you saw it this weekend. You kind of saw it towards the end of last week, and you saw it this weekend. I mean, Keljo, was a little bit more aggressive over the plate. He just looked great, man. I mean, he just looked like the dominant Friday guy you want to see. I mean, he went 5 innings, and man, when he came off at the end of 5 innings, he was stoked. I mean, he had all the emotion. There's a little emotion coming off. San Diego, pitchers were showing some emotion coming off. So I think he was trying to match that a little bit. Plus, the fans were going nuts, and
Yeah.
he comes off and was pretty stoked. So super exciting moment for, Nelson to have a great performance at home for that game Friday.
It was just a great way to start the weekend and going out there and getting that 11-3 win. One point I know that we looked at was when we went back to back to back doubles. We went Caraway, Arquette, and then put Peterson comes up and hits back to back doubles there to put 2 more runs up. It really felt good, and it really never felt like it was a very close ball game, even though it was for a good portion of this game. But big nights there for Caraway, and Arquette gets the big double. They could have got out literally any other ballpark, probably in America at that time. That ball gets out, it hits off the very top of the wall in deep center. And then Tice Peterson also had a triple in the game, so good to see. Even guys like Cannon Reed are still participating, getting action out there. Like you said, he
Yeah.
was 1 for 3, got on base with a couple walks, right?
So I think he was on base 3 out of 5 times. I mean, and just playing defense. I mean, the guy is fast. He covers some ground. He's got good reads. I don't know what his arm grades out at, but it seems pretty solid. It's not a weak arm from center field. So I really like that defensive alignment. And he's filling in. He's playing. There's an injury pops up, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're playing, and next man up, and boom, there he is. Now he's like, you can't take me out. I don't care. Yeah, we got players coming back and people are going to play, but you're going to find someone else to take out for right now. So it's fun to see. I mean, like between him and Talt, I mean, even Friday they played great, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about the rest of the weekend in a minute. But like, man, it was just like I was just impressed with him. His on base, all that kind of stuff. So really like that.
Yeah, Easton, we'll talk about it right now. Game two, 2-0 win, walk off for Easton. I mean, honestly, the guy has been just producing, whether it's with the bunting or putting the ball in play, and his defense, we've seen it. I mean, he's got probably one of the top 3 catches for the season already locked in, robbing that ball down there in Arlington. The guy is a tremendous talent. He just feels like the fiery leader of this team as far as the emotional leader. And then he goes out there and hits the walk-off bomb in the bottom of the ninth. And Scott, we knew it was gone immediately, and he knew it was gone. He hit it, and it was the crowd just went crazy. That right fielder gave us a little scared. That ball had no chance of staying in the ballpark.
Yeah. No, you could see it. He walked partway down the line. And then I don't know if you. I was busy watching the ball fly and the excitement of it all, and high fiving everybody. And then when I watched the replay, watching his excited bat flip, and then his like rounding first base like he was riding a horse, just galloping excited. And I mean, what a great moment! Like we said, we wanted him to have that moment
Yeah.
because he's such a great teammate. He's such a great player that now here he is. This is his hello moment for all the home faithful, and boom, he hits the 2-run walk off. And I think right before that, you and I were both just talking about what a cool moment it would be right now for him just to get a double or whatever and score
Yeah.
the winning run. We were excited. Then he just launches one, and yeah, no, the crowd just went nuts. Nobody wanted to leave. That was the cool thing about Saturday night is
4,003 people were there
yeah,
the whole time.
and you watch it, it just gets launched, it's gone. And usually as soon as the game's over, everybody's walking out and all the fans were still there cheering. And then it broke into, let's go Beavers and all that. And, it was super fun. It was just, everybody was excited, and everybody was so excited. Nobody wanted to walk out. And I think it was probably the longest I've seen the fans stay at the stadium after the game was over. So that was pretty fun.
What gets lost in this is it was a pitching shutout. Dax Whitney goes out there, the true freshman, unbelievable, 6 innings, 10 Ks, just the 5 hits. A couple times he got tested, and it's felt like he was trying to battle himself a little bit out there, Scott. But really, the freshman has been terrific. He doesn't get the win in this one, but he goes out there and gets 6 innings in the 10 Ks, and he was electric.
Yeah, no, I mean, every time I see him, I'm more impressed than I was the time before. And yeah, I mean, he's played 2 SEC schools and, San Diego. And, so he's played some really good quality opponents for his first 4 college games. He's not, some, freshman that's getting thrown in and playing, some low level, lower level team or whatever. He's right out there competing every day with the best in the business. And man, he's just been impressive. Sure, is he going to have freshman hiccups? Sure, but like, when you give up a hit and it's time to buckle down, he did, and I was super impressed with his. His pitches are unbelievable. His power, his different, his changeup, his curveball looks like it falls off the edge of the table from the stadium there. So
Yeah.
I was
And
really
he,
impressed with him. Like, I don't know, where is this kid going to go over the next 2 years of development with us? It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and he's not afraid to throw any pitch in any count. And he throws them for strikes, and he's got beats up the zone. And it's a big good thing. You look at it. Wyatt Queen comes in. He goes 2 strikeouts in an inning. Tanner Douglas comes in, gets a strikeout. Matthew Morrell shuts this one out and gets the win in the combined shutout. Also for Matthew Morrell, they gave up just 1 hit in those last 3 innings. There, tremendous job by the bullpen. And the big thing, Scott, 1 walk, and that's how they stay out of trouble. 1 walk for the whole game for the Beavers. I know that you and I have talked about this. You got to get away from the walks, and they really did. They heard what coach said, attack the zone, and these guys really got after it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tanner Douglas is going to be a integral part for us. We've needed that big lefty arm out of the bullpen, and last year we had Nelson Keljo, but Keljo is our Friday night guy now, and so we have this guy that was a pretty good pitcher for Portland last year, and kind of had a rough first outing, not necessarily all his own fault, but come in and he had a great. I think he pitched a 6-pitch inning or something like that on Saturday. So it was really nice to see him come in, have a big performance. And, he's going to be an integral part that we need down the line. And I mean, I think Matthew Morrell looks like he's our closer right now. He looks like he's the most trusted arm at the back of the pen. And, obviously we'll get into Saturday, but, he came in on back-to-back. So did, Douglas came in again. And
Yep.
I think Douglas's sister may have thrown out like the first pitch on Saturday, I think, or something like that. She came out, threw out the first pitch, threw it to her brother. So that was kind of cool. And I don't know, just neat weekend.
Great things. And then we go to Sunday, and Sunday it was like, okay, we knew a storm was coming, and weather. We were sitting there going, when's this weather going to come? Held off. It held off. There was a lot of wind late in that game. Uh, but really, the storm was Ethan Kleinschmidt, man. 5 2/3 coming out there, 6 strikeouts, just 4 hits. He did give up the run. It was a really good piece of hitting down the right field line that ended up scoring the 1 run there against him. but he was tremendous in his start there. I really was really impressed by the way he just kept getting after it, and he was having some stuff happen behind him, couple errors, uncharacteristic plays there, and some things. Calls went against the Beavs all weekend, but Ethan didn't seem phased at all.
Sure. No, and I think that there's something like you hear the ball when Dax is throwing it, and you see the the ump that Nelson Keljo is getting. I don't see Ethan quite having that high end top speed, but he is really deceptive. You can see that he's fooling the batters more than a lot of those guys. I think he has that, high end. His arm moves a lot, and I think it's hidden a little bit and that kind of stuff. So it just is very deceptive to the hitter, it appears.
Yeah, and he was great. Like said, 5 2/3. He does get the win in this one as the Beavs won 5-2. Big thing here. AJ comes out. Hutch comes out the game right there. 1 1/3. He cruised. I mean, he really looked good. He had the one walk, but he attacked hitters. He was throwing stuff in the zone. I mean, when AJ can get folks to swing and miss and he gets stuff in the zone, when he throws enough strikes to make you swing and miss at that slider, he's super effective.
Yeah, no, I think he had one pitch in the first inning that he came
Yeah,
in,
one
like
pitch,
one
one
pitch,
out.
and he's out. Like, how great is that? And he had a pretty solid second inning, and I think the third inning he may have thrown one pitch and gave up a hit or something, and then
Yeah.
so it's weird to come in and pitch, one and a third, but you had two one pitch innings, so. But he's going to be solid for us. He's somebody we need. He's been reliable for us in the past. Sometimes his ball moves a lot, which is awesome, but it's also like it's hard sometimes to get it to go right where you want it to. But man, what an impressive outing for him. Somebody again. These are people kind of question about who we're using, what we're doing, but all these kids are getting valuable experience that we're going to need later down the line. So it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned, we saw Tanner Douglas. He came in, faced one hitter. That might be his role some nights, especially if he's already thrown a full inning earlier in the week. He's going to come out there and just get a lefty. And San Diego didn't have a ton of lefties in that lineup, but he came out there and got him, got his man. Zach Edwards comes out. He comes out and get a couple out for him. He looked good. Um, the ball was moving a little bit more out of the zone. I feel like on Sunday they weren't necessarily beating up the zone as much, but good for those guys to come out. Morel came out, not his day. He didn't quite finish this one out, but Palmer comes out, gave up another walk, but he had the bases loaded. He closes this one out for him. It was good to see those pitchers, man. I mean, they really all got after it, and good to see Leif come out and get that close.
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw, Tanner Douglas. Yeah, he came in and faced one lefty, but he faced their
Or
guy.
do Gurvich, yeah.
Their lefty. Really good hitter. Came in hitting over 400. Pretty solid guy, and we got him out. And you and I both commented about it throughout the game. The umpire was setting up on the inside, whatever side the batter was, and he was, a little bit of a little bit of leeway on the inside corner, but he never called the outside strike. And so he seemed to be very consistent on both sides. I think he drove Beaver fans a little bit nuts with that slow strike call. Like there was a couple times where I think the ball was back to the pitcher before he started into his,
It was
strike call. And you and I are both laughing about that, but he seemed to be very consistent. So I think our pitchers kind of once they were in there and learned where that was, they worked with it. And so you saw a little bit more of control issues for those guys come in and weren't really sure of what that outside inside zone was. But I mean, overall, just great performance by our staff as a whole. I mean, we sure didn't give up many runs in a 3-game series. So that was nice. And, our bats will get there. Obviously, it was great. You and I both talked about it when we saw Dallas come back into the game. It
Yep.
was nice to see him kind of come back and rather than come back and play DH, he was back out there in the outfield. So that was pretty nice to see. And, we don't get a lot of reports as far as injuries and stuff go, but I know that when I was at the spring scrimmages, they're January, so it's hard to call them spring scrimmages, but that's what they were. And, he was not playing in the outfield. And when he hit even one ball, he laced into the gap. He stopped at first base. He wasn't running hard. When he got to first base, they pitch ran from every time. Since it's their own scrimmage, they'd pitch run from him, then he'd be back up in the next time. But so he's clearly dealing with something, like you and I talked about, looked like he had a, hammy wrap on one of his sides. So we can guess and we can speculate, but it was good to see him back. And then he hits the 3-run home run. So wow,
Yeah,
what a great
that's
moment. And,
I was going to get to that next here. I mean,
yeah,
Arquette comes up clutch with the 2-out single there to score the first run for the Beavs. Huge. Weber comes up, guys, in the second and third, gets the ground ball, but gets a run in, scores a run, figures out a way to score a run there. So the 2 runs there, and it's 2-1 for the most of the game. And then eighth inning comes along, get a couple guys on, and Dallas Macias, man, I couldn't think of a better dude for it to happen to at the point that it happened. I mean, he had just broken below 100 on average on the season. Super short season for him so far.
Sure.
Zero worries in what he's doing. But I know for just his own mental perspective, probably felt enormous to hit that ball out, and he hit that against the wind, and it
Oh, so
flew
much
out of his
wind.
ballpark. Yeah,
Yeah, the wind was howling at that point. Like you said, that storm was coming in, and early in the game we had some, wind that wasn't coming from, right to left. It was kind of blowing more in from center, and then all of a sudden it started blowing out, and then we had a real heavy wind blowing in from right. So he hit that right. I thought it was going to be over the bleachers when he hit it, and then it just
yeah,
kind of hung up and hung up and hung up, and I think it ended up 2 or 3 rows deep in the bleachers. And you're like, wow, I thought that was gone, but
yeah.
I think he had a pretty high launch angle and definitely, hit it into the wind. But just such an exciting moment for him. Just, even though he hasn't, like you said, hasn't been hitting well, he's been battling some injuries, probably trying to get regular at bats, but it's hard to rest your hammy and work on your swing. But even at that, he was on base at like a 350 average. So, I mean,
Yeah.
he's walking, he's doing everything we want. So, it was just nice to see him. And boy, you put him out in the outfield. I have a feeling it's going to be kind of a rotation as to which of our 4 stud outfielders get to play regularly. But like, that's pretty fun. I think that, Gavin Turley had a big weekend. You and I talked about how, he was driving the ball the other way throughout the weekend. That's what you want to see. You want to see him. It appears that that's something he's really working on, and we kept saying it over and over again. We were just like, wow, he is really doing that. So that's cool.
Yeah, it was great to see. Really good at bats. We'd like to see a little bit more offense, obviously, but San Diego's starting pitching is good. It's their strength, Scott, as I talked about before the weekend started. And those guys didn't disappoint. Even the starter on Friday, Sal, he got beat up a little bit, but that was the Beavers hitters more than anything. And then Saturday and Sunday, they stretched those starters out as long as they could, and the relievers couldn't quite hold the Beavers down. But honestly, it was a really good outing there from the starting pitching there from San Diego.
No, for sure. Like I said, I think they're really a legit team. I mean, sure, they've got to figure out their bullpen and stuff like that a little bit, but the guy that they brought in at the end of the game on Sunday seemed to have maybe the best stuff of any of their bullpen arms I saw. And, then he ended up giving up, I think, a home run to Macias. But I mean, just overall, he pitched well, and
Yeah.
I think they're going to be a good team. I really do.
They're going to
And
compete for a WCC
yeah,
title. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be them. Gonzaga are going to be a couple good teams down there, and St. Mary's might be good too. I mean, there's some good teams in the WCC. San Diego's still one of them, as they proved last year when they made it to the tournament.
sure. And playing tough teams like this, like their schedule is played, it's going to make a lot of those other games seem a lot easier. They're not going to face the pitching they've faced so far. They're not going to, face the hitters they've faced so far. So it's good
Absolutely.
experience for them. I mean, we talk about our team and how we started off on the road and doing all that stuff. So it's neat to see them, doing the same path.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, they've played TCU and Arizona, and they've played 4 games against both those teams. It ain't easy. Their record is much better than their current record shows. They'll be better this season, I think. Speaking of a team that I think is going to be better, they've also played some really tough games. Washington State comes in for a couple games in the midweek here. It's coached by Randy Cho. I really, 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 really like this Washington State team. I'm going to go up there and see them here in 2 weeks. I'm going to see them on the 21st weekend, going up there and seeing them play San Diego State. I will not be at the midweeks. It's a little bit far of a travel there for me for 3 hours after work, but I'm really excited to watch these games and see what happens here. I think that this is a good matchup. What are you thinking here? What are you feeling here? I think we might see. DeCramer maybe get one of these
Kellen
starts. Maybe,
Oaks would
maybe
be my
Palmer gets a
guess.
little bit. Kellen Oaks, Drew Talovs. Those guys are going to probably get some opportunities here, right?
For sure. I mean, I think we didn't see Kellen over the weekend. There was a couple of times where you and I even go, who's coming in next? And we were talking about that. And when they didn't throw him, I'm guessing he'll probably start on Tuesday. And then, it might be a bullpen game. Or there's some arms we haven't seen yet. Like, I don't know where some of the players are that we haven't seen yet. And it'll be interesting to see where exactly they go. But I'm guessing Kellen Oaks gets the ball tomorrow. And then we kind of figure it out after that and see how the game goes. But I mean, Washington State's, going to be a decent team coming in here. saved my Pac-2 championship shirt from football season that my kids got me for Christmas to make sure I wear that on Tuesday night. And it's our, it's a great rivalry because they're the team that stuck with us. So we're the last two. Let's go. And so it'll be fun. It should be a
Yep.
good weekend. Looks like tomorrow we're gonna get a little bit of break before the weather maybe gets pretty bad on Wednesday.
Let's hope.
So they can just push that back a couple hours and might get it in before it gets ugly on Wednesday, but we'll just see what happens. But I'm pretty excited. It's going to be, like I said, I think we'll see a couple of kids get a chance to play that maybe we haven't got to see a lot. That's always the nice thing about midweeks. You'll see a couple extra arms. They'll probably play around with the, offense a little bit. Like Dawson Santana coming in and playing Tuesday. We forgot his defensive play that he made,
Sunday making that three
late
out right
Sunday
is
where he
great.
went running all the way over, slid, somehow came up with the ball. So many times when you slide like that, you worry about whether or not the ball's, gets pinned underneath you or whatever. But he came up, made a great throw, and barely got the guy at first. So, and then we forgot about the Arquette, guy, they hit one and he's throwing it from short left field and just powers it over there and somehow got the guy. So, I mean, we had some huge weekend moments, but it'll be interesting to see, kind of what the lineup is, who gets to play. I'm guessing we'll see Hubbard one of the weekend days back there catching just to give Wilson a break. Catching 5 days and 5 games in 6 days is hard on anybody. So
Yeah, I think we see Hubbard get the chance back there. And then, as you mentioned, both those videos are up on my Twitter. So if you guys want to go look at them, two tremendous plays from our shortstop, second baseman combo. I'm excited. I think that
yeah,
this is a good opportunity for a lot of guys. Pitching wise, they're going to get some innings out there. Hitting wise, it's a good chance for these guys to get right before the next weekend series. I know it's kind of a weird weekend series where it's Grand Canyon, Santa Clara, Grand Canyon, but still a weekend series at Goss. It looks like it's going to be a lot of weather for you guys, Scott. I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be recovering from a procedure, so I will be here at home watching. Hopefully,
I
as long
think
as the rain doesn't
Saturday
come out.
looks super wet, and I think that I'm guessing that by the schedule we play there, we're playing Grand Canyon, Santa Clara, Grand Canyon. I'm guessing Grand Canyon and Santa Clara must be playing a game on Friday or a game on Saturday. I'm guessing they're playing here, but I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at their schedules, but I'm guessing that it has to be something like that. So, definitely since I'm a fishing guide and I'm out there in the weather and watching it, like I'm looking at the weekend, it is going to be wet. So, but they originally were saying 10 days ago they thought this last weekend was going to be pretty wet.
True.
So it
Yeah.
always, the weather changes. That's Oregon, so hopefully that pushes out a little bit. But I guarantee you, Goss fans will be there whether it's raining or whether it's not.
100% agree. All right, Scott. We're now into week 5. Beavers are ranked in almost every poll. They're ranked high. They're ranked near the top 10. But what do you want to see from the offense? I know for me, it was the aggressiveness. I was excited to see a little bit more aggressiveness, getting after it, not taking as many strikeouts, not as much swing and miss. It felt like guys were really getting aggressive, even though they were like popping some up and just barely missing. I liked the aggressiveness. But what about you?
I really liked on Sunday when they had Cannon Reeder and Easton Talt back to back in that lineup. You and I talked about it afterwards. If we get Dallas Macias in there, you get those 3 guys. That's a lot of speed. Like it just opens up the game. I want to see them use their speed and really exploit that. We've seen Talt do that. I think 6 or so infield, bunt hits so far. Like,
Yeah.
so you get Cannon on base, you get Talt up. It just opens up so much. Like when there was a couple times where I think Cannon was at third and Talt's at first, you're going, well, Talt's going because they can't throw. And if they do, they, like there was one time where they looked the runner back and then threw and Talt's, down there. Me and I both were like, why did he throw that?
Don't
Like
even
there was
throw it. It's
no
not worth
chance.
it. Yeah.
There's a chance that goes in center field, but no chance he gets Talt. So, I want to see them use their speed some more.
Yeah.
I think Caraway is kind of surprisingly fast. And, obviously Iva seems to be, pretty fast and pretty fluid and that kind of thing. So, I'd like to see him use their speed a little bit more. You see it on defense. You really can see it on defense. Like we talked about the great catch that Talt had, and he actually had 2 home run robbing catches and was so close in the third one. It's because he's got the speed to get to the fence and get up. Like how many guys are 5 feet away from that ball by the time it's going out? He's playing some really good defense. So I just want to see us continue to use our speed. That's probably my big thing.
Love it. What are the positives from this weekend? I know that there's a lot of people still hating, but I mean, there's a lot of positives, right?
Sure. The big one for me is hats off to Beaver fans. I mean, just the way they packed Goss, the way they support this team, the way they, generally tend to be pretty positive towards the visiting team. We're not one of those like, I hope we're not anyway, that we're not one of those people that, when the opposing pitcher, even though he's showing a lot of emotion, he's hyped up. When he comes off the field, we're up there clapping, we're standing up clapping and saying, good job. I mean, I know I talked to a couple of their people that came out and visited and just said, hey man, thanks for coming out. You guys are way better than you look. I kind of tried to be positive with their fans, and hats off to our fans for showing up. I mean, we see it on the road. We see the crowds. We see people show up in Arizona and in Texas, but it was fun to see Goss full. I mean, there's not a lot of teams around the nation that are, having 4,000 fans at their home ballpark. I'm sure that there's a few SEC schools that have a big turnout and stuff like that, but
Yep.
for a northern school, schools in Oregon that aren't getting 4,000 fans on a weekend, let alone 4,000 in a game. So it's fun to see. I'm just hats off to the Beaver fans, and that's what I'm really excited about. Take away from the home opening weekend is just what a class act Beaver fans are.
I try to tell anybody in the country that'll listen. Everywhere I go, it's always nice to be back at Goss, and I tell people, you guys got to come out for a game. It's something. It's just a different atmosphere. It is the best baseball on the West Coast. It's the best fan atmosphere you're ever going to see in college baseball on the West Coast, and it rivals those SEC stadiums. It's getting bigger every year. They're going to keep adding more and more seats, and it's going to build up because they keep selling out. I mean, the 20th highest crowd ever with no left field stands on Saturday, Scott, with 4,003 people out there.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that. The positives for me, I think, was the pitching. They really threw a lot more strikes. They didn't walk as many guys. They really got after it. It felt like for me, attacking the zone. The only times they really got into some trouble were with the walks. And if they can get away from the walks, I think they have the guys with enough stuff to get people out. And that's what I want to see more of here in this upcoming week, especially with these two games against Washington State. Attack the hitters, get after the zone. Don't give up free passes to get yourself into trouble.
Nope, I agree. We're going to see some new arms the next 2 days. We're going to see more depth. I mean, someone's going to emerge over the next 2 days that we need down the stretch.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing to me. That's what I want to see is kind of which pitchers step up, which pitchers pitch well. I mean, we've got some great arms that we're going to throw the next couple of days, and it'll be, you and I have talked about it at length. This is one of the deepest pitching staffs we've ever seen. I mean, we got a lot of guys pumping 95 plus miles an hour. And I mean, there's been years where we didn't have anyone that was hitting 95, and now we got like 8 guys or something like that. So
Yep, 8 guys
I'm
have
right
thrown a
there
ball
with you.
95 or harder in a
Yeah.
game. I mean, it's
Yeah.
easy. You can do that in practice. 95 in a game and throwing it for strikes, crazy.
Yeah.
Final thoughts as we head into this week, Scott.
Oh man, I mean, just so much excitement around this team. It's so nice to be home, getting to watch the team here in person. Come on, Beaver fans, let's fill it up, rain or shine.
Fill it up. Goss Stadium is amazing, folks. You guys were great this weekend. Again, we're going to see you guys April 5th. I'm going to come back down. I'll be at the game on April 4th, but we're going to do the big seed giveaway on the 5th, and we'll set you up with more details once we get started there. Scott's going to help me out. Scott, thanks again for coming on. All of us here at Beaver Nation just excited to be part of this. Cannot wait for another week of college baseball. We'll see you guys here in a week from Monday.
Awesome.